Have you been working from home since lockdown? Have you loved it? Have you loved not having to do the commute? Have you loved doing work in your gym jams? Maybe, I don't know. Or has it been a nightmare? Because you're trying to do a full-time job, the dog's barking, the cat's crawling all over your laptop, the kids are there as well, perhaps. Well, the Prime Minister says from next month, it will be for employers to decide whether people should return to their workplaces or continue working at home. The Director General of the British Chambers of Commerce, Adam Marshall, says employers will have many issues to consider before asking people to return to the workplace.
What businesses all over the UK are telling us repeatedly is that they do need crystal clear guidance from the government. They're facing questions from their employees about things like public transport, about childcare and schools as well. And those questions need to be answered, as well as the ones employees have about whether the workplace itself is safe.
So is that it? Is everyone back to the office now? Or has the coronavirus pandemic changed the way that we all work for good? Let's speak to Patrick Lonergan now, runs a recruitment firm in Newton Aycliffe. Thanks for your time tonight, Patrick. I mean, have you been working from home, first of all?
I have. Good evening. Yes, I've just returned to my office. The office block reopened just 2 weeks ago.
And was it love it or hate it for you working from home?
It was mixed emotions, speaking very honestly. We have 4 kids ourselves and a couple of dogs, so getting that right balance was difficult, first of all.
Where did you go to do work? Do you have a shed? Were you in the shed? Is that where you were?
Locked away in the conservatory. That's it.
Right. Okay. And so, as a recruitment firm, I mean, what have you been hearing from people that you work with, any employers or employees of people that you work with, about the idea of working from home becoming a new normal for businesses?
Yeah, a lot of business has been mixed emotions, and predominantly coming from the employee. Some have embraced it wholeheartedly, and we've seen productivity levels increase as well. From an employer's point of view, they're seeing it as a benefit to themselves. Again, coming from the productivity of the employee. There's no more travel to work. They're make a cup of tea and they can start straight away. And therefore, they're getting a lot more done without any normal distractions working from the office.
Do you think the majority of workers will want to go back to the office then after all this?
It's a difficult one to answer, purely for the fact that some employees don't favour remote working. They like structure, they like the routine of working in an office. Their well-being needs to be considered on how they perform within their role as well. Others have embraced it. We have the technology where they go into Zoom or MS Teams, and they're able to adapt very nicely to it. So, but in favour, from what I see, speaking to employees and employers, we see an overwhelming favour that it is working for them, and the employers are seeing a cost reduction activity with people working at home.
Wow, right. So a lot more employers could be looking at this as a possible way forward. I mean, if productivity hasn't fallen and the employee's happy, they could look at extending something like this.
Absolutely, and even with employers who previously thought that remote teams would never work for themselves, now see this very differently in order to future-proof their own company. There's also a considerable cost saving, which every company is going to be keen to tap into as well.
Patrick, thank you very much for your time this evening. Patrick Lonergan runs a recruitment firm in Newton Aycliffe. Nicky Jolley is here now from HR Today in Darlington. Nicky, can I put you in a situation here? Let's say I'm somebody who's been working from home and I've quite enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Everything is fine. I feel like I'm doing my job properly. I've had no complaints. Can an office make me come back to work?
Well, I think that's what Boris is giving us the power back to do. So I think he's giving more power to the employers to be able to decide what is right for their business. And I think that's right. Because I think, I agree wholeheartedly with what Patrick was saying. There are some firms, this will work, they can save costs. I think we need a lot longer, and I think mentally, from a mental health point of view, I think longer term this may create more problems for employees. I think initially it's a bit of a a new norm, and people are going, oh, this is really good. I think you get to the winter months, you get to those, well, I could say rainy, drizzly days, but it's raining and drizzly here at the moment. But I think longer term, I think people will revisit it and miss that structure. And if they don't, a lot of firms are saying, we can save on costs, we don't need the buildings, we don't need the premises. So where will they have their team meetings? Are these all going to be electronic? Are people not going to see each other? We're seeing a little bit of a trend. We're recruiting at the moment ourselves. We've got 2 HR advisor positions on the go at the moment. And what we're finding is actually some of the people that are applying love their job. They loved what they were doing, but they've been told they're going to be working from home, and that isn't what they want. They don't want it anymore. They've tried it. They thought they would like it, but actually it's not for them, and they're missing the interaction. So I think it's going to be very mixed, and I think it's going to take some time. And I think a winter, at least, for people to make this assessment. And I think employers just need to be a little bit careful that it's a bit of a novelty at the moment. And I think there may be a shift.
I also wonder, Nicky, if we could be in for an interesting situation in the coming weeks and months where an employer says to an employee, right, you've been working from home, it's been great, but I want you back in the office now. And if that employee still has reservations about coronavirus, about health, I wonder what sort of loggerheads they'll be coming to.
It's very difficult because an employer has a duty of care. So if the employee is concerned, we've had, what I originally called furlough fever. We've had some people that didn't want to come back to work. They were happy at home, and they were on furlough. We didn't want to come back. And they used, the fact that they were scared and everything else. A slightly different arrangement, not working from home, but on furlough. And, we've worked through that with a number of clients where, what we've said to them, speak to the employees. We're advising everybody before they bring back to the office, do what we would class as a return to work. So do it as if they've been off absent. Have that call, have that Zoom, whatever it takes. Speak to them. Let them know what's going to be different when they come back. Alleviate as many fears as you can. People are scared and people really don't know what's going on. And then there's all this talk of mandatory masks from next Friday. People are a bit intimidated about the whole thing. Our key is be clear, communicate, talk to people, let them know what you've done in terms of provision, what your risk assessment says, what it means. And what we're saying is just overcome people's fears. We've even advised clients to bring their employees in just for a cup of coffee because half the workforce are back. Come down and meet your colleagues. Come and have a cup of coffee. Just come and see for yourself what it's like. Try the journey in on public transport or however they're getting there. And the key is to keep working with the employees to encourage them and bring them back. It'll be interesting what develops from Boris, what powers he will give if people still refuse to come back.
Nicky, thank you so much. Nicky Jolley from HR Today in Darlington.